Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Welcome back, everyone. It is another new week on the Cabral Concept. It's great to have you here today on this Motivation and Mindset Monday, where I can't wait to get into today's topic. Today's topic is really the understanding and the investment in yourself that when you look back on your life, because it's really not even possible when you're in the moment. It's so difficult today to say, what do I want my life to be about? It's really challenging when we start to look at that big question. But when we look back on our life, that's when we start to have a little bit of introspection. We can begin to think, what do we want more of, or what do we want less of? And so many people ask the question, what is life really all about? And these are big questions, and these are questions that are not easy necessarily to understand, but I can tell you this, and this was a profound statement when I heard it, and I wish I could give credit where credit's due for this particular statement, but of course, I'm sure it's been around since the beginning of time when people started to contemplate these questions, at least a few thousand years. But when we look at it, your time is your life. So when a lot of people say, well, what's life all about? Well, you have to understand your life is all about what you spend it on. So your life is about your time. And that's why I've done so many different shows on why it's so important to be scheduling your day. Because if you are not scheduling your day, if you're not setting your day up for success or doing more of what it is that you want to do, which we will get into in the show, then you are living by someone else's calendar, someone else's means. And I'm not saying that you are not going to have to follow, certain things within your life. Like if you have to drop the kids off at school, well, you have to drop the kids off by 8 o'clock or whatever time it might be. If you have to go to work, all right, you might have to be in by this time. But there is so much of your day that you can schedule. There's so much that you can do, but it's even beyond scheduling. It's really understanding what it is that you want to be spending your time on. And are you doing those things right now in your life? So that is one of the things that you have to look at. It's almost like draw a column in two, right? So basically take a piece of paper, draw a line down the middle. And on that left-hand side, you have to say, okay, what do I want to be spending my life doing, right? What do we want more of? So you have to have a more of column. And then also, how do you currently spend your day? So let me give you an example. A lot of people say, well, I want to spend more time with my family, or I want to spend more time traveling, or I want to spend more time on passion projects. And all of that can be great, right? So if you say more time traveling, well, what are we really talking about? Are we traveling all the time? Are we taking 2-3 vacations a year? Are they each a week long? So you have to actually qualify what that means, because traveling for some people might be 2 trips a year. Other people might literally be like a vlogger and traveling all around the world and detailing your travels online. And so you have to say to yourself, like, what does traveling mean to you? So that's really how I would qualify it. And for me, of course, I've always loved traveling. It's always been a big thing. I love seeing other cultures. And I knew that I always wanted to do that, but it didn't mean that I could just leave work or leave family and do those particular things. So I've had times in my life have been greater amount of travel. Even one, which is, I think subconsciously, I did my internships to learn. There's just no doubt about that. What better place to study Ayurvedic medicine than that in Kerala in India, right? Or Sri Lanka or Mysore, any of these great places in India, Dehradun right outside of Rishikesh, all these great places. So I did that, but at the same time, I was actually getting to see a lot of the world, and that was amazing. I was in old Beijing. I was at a traditional Chinese hospital, every single day for 12 hours working inside the clinic. And so, these were all great experiences. I got to travel at the same time. And maybe you can combine a lot of what you're doing with travel as well, if that's one of your priorities. But again, I wasn't going to spend my whole life traveling. That was one part of it. It was on particular internships. I had to do my 2,500 hours or 2,350 hours no matter what. So I had to do them. So I said, hey, maybe I can combine both. So, but now the thing is, well, now I don't travel as much. I used used to travel pre-pandemic once or twice a month speaking at about 3 days at a time. And that was great. And I had to just make sure it was only 3 days at a time because I didn't want to miss out on what? Another one of my priorities, which should be my 2 young daughters, which is always my North Star, my guiding light, my number one thing that I have to focus on. So I'm going to bring this back a little bit. Write down, just really understand, when you look back in your life, you have to understand, what do you want it to look like? And I always say, what would I regret not doing? So I always go to the regret. I know that it's a negative and not a lot of people like to do that, but honestly, it's those regrets or that negative thing that pushes you to do what you need to do in order to make sure that that doesn't happen, right? So many people with their finances that might be behind on their rent, behind on their mortgage, behind on, or not being able to pay for their school education, whatever it might be. And you find a way to make it happen because you don't want that negative. I've been there many times in my life as well. So you find a way to make it happen if you're someone that's resourceful and you want to make these things happen, right? And I know that many people fall on difficult times. So it's like, well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do to make it happen? And again, it's not just with job, not just with finances. So what I want you to do is begin to understand that your life is all about how you spend your time, right? It's your experiences. So let's say that no matter what, you have to spend 8 hours a day at work, 1 hour commuting on each end. Now, again, a lot of us are doing it virtually, so we get to take back at least, I don't know, an hour of that time or whatever it might be, preparing, etc. So think of it this way. Let's say you're doing 8, 9, 10 hours a day for work. All right. I've done a previous podcast on this. I will try to link it up. So if you go to stevencabral.com/1907, I'm going to link up this podcast for you. And it's essentially the missing 6 hours of the day. I won't go through that whole podcast now. That's a separate show. I would love you to listen to that, of course. But it's the basic understanding that if you're working from 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock, 9 to 5, whatever it might be, take your commute in there as well. Let's say you're sleeping for 8 hours. Okay. Let's just say you work for 10. That includes your commute, or you have an executive job and it's not an 8-hour job. Executive jobs might be a good 10 hours a day, sometimes even more. So again, we'll get to those jobs in just a moment, but now you have 6 hours though. You still have 6 hours. If you sleep for 8 and you work for 10, or you're taking care of the family for 10, or whatever your responsibilities are, just substitute, work in air quotes for whatever it is that you spend your time during the day. And if you're fortunate enough to be able to kind of pick and choose how you spend your day, well then fantastic. Now this show will hopefully light a fire under you to say, how am I spending that 10 hours, now 16 hours a day? Because if you have that work, family commitments for 10 hours, you're sleeping for 8, we still have 6 hours, right? Because 10 and 6 is 16, plus another 8 is 24. That's our 24-hour day. So again, we all get 24 hours a day, but not all of us spend it as wisely as we should. I think I wasted a lot of time when I was younger not really understanding this. And, these concepts are not for the young. You need to get a little bit of life under you, I think, to really understand the importance of time. So the thing is, when you have 6 hours a day, whether it's from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock in the morning before you leave, or from 5 o'clock at night to 9, 10 o'clock at night, you have some time. I know there's still family commitments. Like I don't have all of that time to myself, but also that's okay, because a big priority for me is family time. It's my 2 young daughters. So it's understanding that, and I've done some real research on this, and I always go back to it, but this is one of my highlights and priorities in life. And that the majority of the time that you spend with your children is before the age of 13, before the age of 12, technically, or at 12 and below. So when you look at that, that's the majority. And if you really start with the end in mind, because people keep always saying to me, I got my 2 daughters, they're 6 and 8 years old. They're going to be 7 and 9 years old. It's like, how did this even happen? And people keep saying to me, the time goes by so quick, they grow up so fast. And I'm like, listen, I know, I get it. I understand that. I can't slow time down. So what do I need to do? Well, I can't be anxious about it. I can't be worried about it. I just have to make sure that I'm more present. So since I know that being with my daughters is one of my biggest priorities, then I can say, okay, well, that's scheduled. I'm there with my daughters. I no longer leave for work before 7 a.m. I used to leave before 7 o'clock to be at my desk at 7 a.m. Used to do that for many, many years. Before that, before I had kids, I would start work at 5:30 in the morning when I was in the fitness industry and the the nutrition-based industry as well, like the body transformation industry. But luckily, I'm not leaving the house at that hour, and of course I'm very fortunate to be able to do that. But now I can see my daughters, I can have a little breakfast with them, or at least get them ready. Help with my wife a bit. or chat with them, just talk. So they see me, I recognize them, I give them a kiss goodbye before I head off to work. Then I head off to work, and then I come back and I have dinner with my family. So dinner with my family is a big one. And what do? Well, I put this phone away. It's gone. It's not a part of the next 2 hours. So let's say I'm home at 5:30, whatever it might be, until I go to bed somewhere around 7:30. Well, I've got 2.5 hours of nothing else except my 2 daughters and my wife. That's it. And my French bulldog Moose. But besides that, that is it. So that is how I want to be spending those hours. Now, a part of me says you should work less and you should be with your daughters more. And I get it, but that's part of the balance of life. So I have the whole weekend with them. And of course, yes, I check in a little bit on work on the weekend, but I am with them the majority of that time. And I also wake up a little bit earlier than them to make sure that I can get done what I need to get done. But again, life is complicated. It really is. And sometimes you have to work a little bit more, or you have other priorities that take you away from family, which is one of your big priorities. But I also know a lot of people where work is their biggest priority. And when I look at them and we might have these conversations, I just say, is this something that you're going to regret 10, 20 years ago? And they actually say, no. If I didn't do what I needed to do in my work, I would actually regret that. And I say, okay, well, then you're on to something. Then you get it, because that is essentially your purpose. That is what you're meant to do. And that's why we really can't judge people that are working 12 hours, 14 hours a day if it's what they love. If it's what they love, then that is what they're meant to be doing. And you might say, well, you're sacrificing family time, you're sacrificing this. And that's absolutely true. But again, each of us have our own path in life. And if that's not necessarily a regret, then we might say, well, maybe that's what this person was born to do. At least it's what they believe in their heart is what they should be doing. Now, some people, again, don't have that choice, right? Let's say I had my kids in my early 20s. Well, I would starting different health-based corporations, businesses, organizations, getting my practices up and running. I mean, I was working 12 plus hours a day. It's difficult to build a successful practice because you're just doing everything. You're literally cleaning the place, you're mopping the floors, you're ordering the paper, you're going to buy ink supply, you're doing everything. And it just is a lot of hours. So you have your regular 40-hour week working with patients or wellness clients or whatever it might be. And then you also have your other job, which is running your organization. And so there's a lot of hours. And so again, if I had kids back then, I wouldn't have been able to be around as much. I just wouldn't. It's part of life. It's kind of where we're at. I know a lot of people and they're working 2 jobs and they're doing it for their children, for their kids, so they have a better life. I know that my dad worked many, many hours when I was young, many, many hours, because he was starting his business. He was getting things off the ground. He had to do that so that we could then enjoy a better life. And again, I'm trying to do the same for my daughters, but I had my daughters a little bit later, which allowed me to build up a lot of those, practices, successful practices early, so that now, having been in business, and in working and basically trying to develop this message for 20 years, well, it's like, okay, it happened, but it took 10 years. And so, but again, that's where I look at it with gratitude and fortunate, but I also have empathy for those people that are moving through life not exactly where they want to be. So this is what I say to you, and this is my message for today. Just understand whatever your priorities are. For people, they have many different priorities and many different things, but you have to understand it's like you're only allowed to do so many things well. Right? You only have so much time, and to do things well takes time, right? So, for example, people want to, let's say someone, I'm going to do a show this week actually on the average weight gain during this pandemic was 29 pounds. Okay. So let's say that you want to lose the 29 you gained, plus you wanted to lose another, 10 or so that you had before. All right. Well, you want to lose 40 pounds because you want to get healthier. You want less inflammation. You want less chance for a risk of disease and cancer and all these things. Okay. It's a great goal. Okay. But now that's a goal, and that goal takes time. Right? And you might still have your family, or you might still have school, you might have work. So it's like, well, what gives, right? One of them has to become a higher priority at the moment. So you have to decide, Is this something I would regret not doing? And I would say not losing that weight if you really want to, which is going to allow for better overall health. That might have to be a higher priority. For how long, right? For how long would it take you to lose that 40 pounds? Well, most people can lose on average a good 2 to 3 pounds per week. All right. So if we just do the math on that, we're looking at what? 3 to 4 months. Okay. So now we need to make this a priority for 3 to 4 months. But here's the great thing. After the 4 months is done, you get to maintain that, right? You get to keep that. Now, you don't have to keep putting in necessarily the same amount of time, or the truth is you've just shifted your schedule. I teach this in my IHP Mastery, where it's just, you do something called habit stacking. And you're already doing things in life, and you just add it to another thing, right? It's kind of like the easiest thing is everybody's typically having a coffee or a tea or a glass of water. They're having some beverage in the morning, right? Some fluid. And all you have to do is put your nutritional supplements right beside that beverage. And that's habit stacking. You already do one thing. Just take the supplements with the liquid. It's that easy, right? It's that easy to get your vitamins, your minerals, your omega-3s, whatever it is that you need. So we can do those same things with many other aspects of our life, and that's such a key. But it's also understanding that sometimes, and I just spoke about this, it was either last week or the week before, so I'm going to find it for you right now. And it was episode 1886, so a couple weeks back. And it's understanding that at least for this person who wants to lose the 40 pounds, well, for 3 to 4 months, you might have to become a little bit unbalanced. You might have to spend a little bit more time prepping, preparing, creating your systems within your life in order to be able to take the weight off and make sure that you don't regain it. I actually don't think it's going to take a whole lot of time. Maximum 30, 60 minutes a day. That's it. So, but that 30, 60 minutes is going to have to push something out. Could be TV. It could be a half hour with the family. It's going to be something. But at the same time, maybe you're showing your kids or your siblings or someone else that you could be a role model for what can be possible. You're not going to put it in anybody's face, but you're going to show and lead by your actions. You're going to say, hey, I was 40 pounds away from where I wanted to be. I made it happen. I don't have any superhuman powers. Here's what I did. Maybe you want to follow this as well. So I think that's a really beautiful way to also lead life, is that we don't need to always tell others, this is what you should be doing. We simply need to lead by example. And if other people say to you, how did you do it? Well, now they've opened the door where you can begin to share with them exactly what you did to create success in your life. Now, that might not be the path they end up following, but now they know it's an option for them and they can begin to mimic your success. This is what we call it paying it forward, right? It's what I try to do every single day on the Cabral Concept podcast, is that I see things in practice. I've seen things now for 20 plus years, and I try to share with you the most successful paths that people have taken. And luckily, we have so much wellness client data, whether it's weight loss, people getting well, or people reversing that aging process, that I can share that then with you, and that these are things that we know work from a clinical perspective. We see them happen in real life. But the nice thing is this, is that as you learn, just as I continue to learn, that you continue to share. And you share with the people that give you the opening, that open that door, right? If you listen to the podcast, you said, okay, I don't know that I'm going to believe, and that's okay, but I'm willing to listen. And maybe you don't make a change because of this show or any show for a couple weeks or a couple months, but at least now it's in the back of your mind that it's possible. And it's also possible to create the exact life that you're looking for yourself. Again, it might not be possible this week, this month, or this year, but if you know where you want to be heading, then for sure you can start to make changes in that direction. So I was not able to make it home every single night to have dinner with my family. That was not a possibility. I missed a bunch of nights when my first daughter was young. There's no doubt about that. I was opening my functional medicine practice pretty much the same time. I just worked in another doctor's office, and which was a great office. I started building out a massive location from scratch, literally, which always goes longer than you think and always costs more than you think. And there was headaches and frustrations, and I just had to make it work, and I had to put in the time there. And then I opened that practice. Life was good. I was now getting home more nights per week. And then eventually I was only not getting home for dinner on Wednesday nights, which was my really long day. From 7 a.m., I was at my desk already working by 7, and I worked till about 7 o'clock at night. And then I would come home, just at time typically to say goodnight to my youngest daughter and oldest daughter. And that was great. And then just a little while later, probably 18 months later, okay, things are settled. Now I can get home every single night for dinner, except when I was traveling. Again, traveling once or twice a month, speaking all around the world. Why? Because and here's the thing. So I was able to achieve that. But then also, you have to understand is that I don't try to set a million priorities for myself. Now, maybe a few weeks ago, you heard about my new workout routine, my new goal there. That's exciting for me. But if I didn't make that happen, I'm okay. Right? But there's a few things that I look back at 10 years from now, was I able to do this, this, and this, right? Was I able to build the family, right? Along with my wife that we want for my daughters and for us, right? To enjoy as a happy, healthy family. And again, there's nothing guaranteed, but we can do our best. But the other part is I want to build the open source, global, integrative health practice that I wish I had when I was 17 years old. I want to make sure that, again, I know not everyone's going to take advantage of this, but I want to make sure that if you're dealing with any type of dis-ease of the body, that you can figure out what the underlying root cause is. You can figure it out through these free podcasts every single day, that you can literally search them at stephencabral.com/podcast. You can just do a search on whatever you want. We broke them down into categories to make them even easier. I wrote the rain barrel effect, which is literally how people get sick, gain weight, age at a faster rate. And the second half of the book is how to reverse that process by emptying that rain barrel. That's essentially free. It's a book with all of my work in it. I did a fitness book that is a year's worth of workouts. That's like $14. Again, like all profits from all of my books go to charity. And then all of the protocols and all of the labs, you no longer have to go to your doctor. You can open source these right now at equa.life. So the reason I share this with you is that's a mission of mine. So I have a mission and a purpose with family, and I have a mission and a purpose with my work. But one can't supersede the other. I wouldn't be me if I didn't have the priority of family. But I also wouldn't be me if I wasn't able to work. So I don't think I'd be good for my wife and my two daughters if I wasn't able to live my passion and my purpose. But when I get to do that every single day, then I get to then be totally present for them. So when I look back, I say, okay, this is what I want to have accomplished. And of course, I'll probably say, I wish I could have done that better, a little bit that better, but I'll understand that I did my best at my present moment with my present moment thinking without obviously the benefit of hindsight. So what I want to share with you is that I always want you to be gentle with yourself. I want you to be gentle, not give yourself anxiety, but do understand that life goes by. It seems to go by really quickly. It really does. But the nice thing is that we can take advantage of our present moments. And for our future moments and for our overall life that we want to be different, we can start to take those action steps now. We can begin to plan what we want our future self to look like. And then we can take those present day actions to create our future life. You can absolutely do this. I really believe that you can. And again, if I can help in any way, please do let me know. Take care, everyone. Have an amazing day. And please do feel free to share the show with anyone you believe it could serve. Thank you so much for tuning into today's Cabral Concept. Really appreciate your downloads, your subscribes, and your listens. And that's why before you go, I want to make sure you always know what we have going on, what's new, what's innovative over at equa.life. This is our online, our virtual, integrative health-based organization where we help people literally in 30 countries all over the world to get access to at-home lab testing as well as the absolute purest and best nutritional supplements and protocols. And this week, we have a debut of a brand new product based on your suggestions. You wanted to be able to get that same daily nutritional support powder in a low waste bag rather than the jars that we typically ship them in. We listened to you. It's taken us about 6 months to work with the right manufacturers on these. And now we are debuting those low waste daily nutritional supplement based bags. This is the same grade vanilla or chocolate based powder that contains all of your daily nutritional support. All of your vitamins, your minerals, your electrolytes, your detox factors, fiber, plus 15 grams of a plant-based protein. This is completely vegan for those that are looking to be on more of a plant-based or vegan-based diet, and it's a great way to supplement a whole food diet. It's the number one product that people use in our practice to maintain health and also to increase their health, vitality, energy, and much more. So right now we are offering you, whenever you purchase those it's this week, when you purchase the 2 bags, which is 1 month supply of the daily nutritional support, we're actually going to give you our brand new free glass canisters. These are glass canisters that you can stow away in your cabinet, kitchen cabinet, or keep right on your countertop like we do right at home. The glass canisters are a great sustainable way in order to be able to save all of your nutritional supplement, your daily nutritional support inside of that container with a sustainable bamboo-based lid. Really nice, beautiful base design, $19.95 value, yours completely free this week while supplies last on those glass canisters. Head on over to equa.life for all the details. Thanks so much. Have an amazing day.